they're going to have to consider a complete change to their working life.
I don't know what to do. I'm thinking about packing in altogether because, as I say, I can't be doing with it really.
It's the cost and the time that you're having to lose on the ranks taxiing. I don't think that it's beneficial to our trade.
Sit at home all day and be grumpy, I don't know. I can't be doing with sitting behind desks and things like that. Them days are gone.
So what do the orders entail? Well, drivers will have to take an introductory industry course, even though some of the drivers have been in the job for up to 30 years. The course itself costs over £200, a fee many drivers are having to front themselves. But it's the time they'll have to spend in the classroom that they feel will cost them the most.
Well, I've been told I'm going to have to do it, yeah. So more expense, more time off, which you can't afford because I was made redundant after 23 and a half years. So.
From March this year, drivers will have 12 months to complete the course, and if they don't, their licences might not be renewed. By 2017, ranks like this could be looking far emptier. Will Longman, LSJ Today.
Well, Will joins us in the studio now to tell us a little bit more. Will, what does the course entail?
Well, over the time they're going to be taking this course, they're going to have to be learning about health and safety, customer service and road safety. But these are things that some of these drivers have been doing for years, and it's taking them off the road and taking money out of their pockets.
Do all the drivers share the same view?
Not all of them. I actually spoke to one taxi driver yesterday who said himself he didn't really mind, it's just part of the job. He's saying that these drivers that are complaining are spending too much time in meetings and not enough time on the road where they could be earning the money to do the course.
Will, thank you. It's World Cancer Day and a Lincolnshire Cancer Awareness Group is urging people to check for symptoms. The Early Prevention of Cancer programme focuses on bowel, lung, prostate, cervical and breast cancer, stressing it's important to check for telltale signs.
Saves lives. So the quicker that you notice something is not normal or not right for you, and the quicker you go to the doctor, the more likelihood is that you would get treated quicker, earlier, and your prognosis would be a lot better.
A dramatic rescue effort to save a whale is underway in Norfolk. This follows the recent beaching of 4 dead whales on Lincolnshire's coast 2 weeks ago. Our reporter Kelly Pyart has been watching the situation unfold. So Kelly, what's the latest?
Well, the UK Coast Guard got a call at about 7:30 this morning that a whale had been found in Hunstanton, which is in Norfolk, in North Norfolk in fact. The whale is 14 metres long and was in fact found 2 miles away from another one, which was beached on the 22nd of January. The tide has started coming in now, so there are hope that it could swim out. But our experts are expecting that it will die, saying that organ failure might have kicked in by now.
So how can they help it back out into the sea?
Well, they're saying that actually they really can't do a lot. The whale weighs between 25 to 30 tonnes and it can be really dangerous when they go near it. So the vets can't really get anywhere near it to sedate it, they can't put it out of its misery, they can't pick it up with a truck or a forklift and they can't roll it.
So tell me, are these whales related to the ones that were found at Skegness?
Well, it's thought that they could all be part of the same pond, a pod even. There were 3 whales found at Skegness in January, another at Wainfleet, which was further down the coast in Lincolnshire, and there was another one in Hunstanton, obviously. It's still yet to be determined whether the other 12 found across the Netherlands and Germany are related, but it's thought that they could all be part of a male pod that was swimming in the North Sea.
So why do you think they've ended up being beached?
Well, it's thought that their navigational ability could have been disturbed. There are thoughts that it could be to do with sonar, with submarines operating in the area. They then become exhausted and find themselves in shallow water and can't find their way back. And unfortunately, once they get beached, cardiovascular collapse starts occurring. So for this whale, it's a waiting game to see whether it can pick its strength up to make it back.
Thanks, Kelly.
Across the UK, groups are uniting in order to raise awareness of mental health. Local charities in Lincoln don't think enough is being done to get the word out. Shine Mental Health Network aims to put people suffering in touch with each other as a support system. By putting on weekly events, Shine provides professional help to those in need in a friendly and non-threatening environment. Robert Glenton, director of Shine, believes it is important for people to talk.
We've got representation on the suicide prevention panel, and members of Shine do all sorts of activities in the community to try and raise awareness of mental health, so that you break the stigma of coming along and accessing mental health services.
Lincolnshire's only emergency night shelter has been given a new look thanks to a group of volunteers armed with paintbrushes. The team from Vodafone's Newark branch, YMCA, Lincolnshire and the Nomad Trust pulled together to give the shelter a new lick of paint.
Vodafone offered to work with the Nomad Trust and supply materials and labour, etc. It was agreed that we would paint the downstairs of our night shelter.
It's very rewarding, because at the end of the day, when you put all the furniture back, you know you've actually achieved something for somebody, and they're going to appreciate it.
Fed up with waiting at the level crossing on Lincoln's High Street? Well, fear not, as the footbridge which will carry pedestrians over the railway is rapidly nearing completion. This week, the bridge's walkway and stairs were installed by Network Rail. They said that good progress is being made, as can clearly be seen from the street. However, they said they still have a number of jobs to do to make it safe. And they say that the bridge will be open to the public in June.
Sorry about that slight technical error. Next up, we have more stories from around the region. And 2 lurchers have been seized by Lincolnshire police after their owners were arrested on suspicion of hair-coursing offences. The 2 men from Gloucestershire were arrested in the Fodderdyke area near Newleat yesterday. The dogs will be looked after in a kennels until the judge decides what will happen to them. A car was also seized from the men.
Lincolnshire police have made a public appeal to help find missing Sleaford man Robert Taylor. The 51-year-old was last seen on Monday and has not made any contact with his family since he went missing. If you have any information on his whereabouts, police are asking that you call them on 101.
Elderly people in Lincolnshire have been paying higher energy prices than the cheapest option, according to an allegation made by The Sun. Age UK has been criticised for receiving £6 million from energy provider E.ON to encourage people to take the company's deals. Both E.ON and Age UK deny they've done anything wrong. Industry regulator Ofgem will now examine the claim.
More than 4,000 people have signed a petition against bus cuts across the county. Campaigners want the council to rethink plans to slash services as part of their budget. The Save Our Buses campaign has gained the highest number of supporters in just 2 weeks. The petition will be handed to the County Council.
People in Lincolnshire are more likely to get the right medication thanks to new software being used in doctors' surgeries. Well, that's according to developers. The groundbreaking project will reduce the risk of patients being prescribed the wrong medication and is being used in 150 surgeries in the East Midlands. The project is led by the Lincolnshire Community Health Services, NHS Trust and the Universities of Lincoln and Nottingham, among other groups. It's claimed that in the UK, 1 in 20 prescriptions contains an error.
Work has started today on the £6.8 million Ball Technology Centre near the university in Lincoln. The centre will house more than 20 businesses and create more than 50 jobs. It's part of the Lincoln Science and Innovation Park, which is hoped to revitalise the area.
Still to come on the programme, Facebook celebrates its 12-year anniversary with a friendly showcase.
US TV star and car enthusiast Matt LeBlanc has announced to be the second new Top Gear presenter.
And it's good news for Lincoln City fans because they're back to winning ways. But is it too late?
But first, it's time for the Week in Westminster with our political correspondent, Calvin Robinson.
Welcome and good afternoon here from Westminster in a week when Prime Minister David Cameron has come under increased pressure from his reform to the European Union. But more on that later. First, PMQs yesterday saw the Prime Minister come under pressure from
I'm sorry about that technical fault. We'll come back to it just in a few minutes later, but joining us now in the studio is Calvin. And with a referendum on Britain's membership with the European Union potentially being held as early as June, Calvin, what will the campaign look like in Lincoln?
Well, MPs in Lincoln, like Carl McCartney, are holding out for a better deal in the European Union, as David Cameron addressed the House yesterday. Carl McCartney has said there are 3 things that he would need to know in order to consider even staying in the European Union or campaigning for Britain staying in the European Union. And they will be immigration, rules on and regulations that the European Union sets on Britain and other sovereign states, and a clear and concise answer from the Prime Minister stating whether or not the European Commission is going to be governing Britain or if the British government is.
So what's the current situation on the EU referendum?
Well, as I said, the Prime Minister addressed the House of Commons yesterday and he did state in full that deal with the European Union, but we still aren't very clear when the referendum will be and when the people of Britain will have their say on the EU. Early indications are that because the deal has come so early in the year, that it could be possible the EU referendum is held in June.
And who will be campaigning in Lincoln?
Well, the City Council have said that they still have not got their stance on the European Union or even addressed it. We're still waiting to hear from the County Council, but it seems as though once we do know when this referendum is, we will have people like Leave.eu and Better Together in the European Union. Will be campaigning in Lincoln and around the country as well.
So we can bring you back Week in Westminster now with Calvin.
Welcome and good afternoon here from Westminster in a week when Prime Minister David Cameron has come under increased pressure from his reform to the European Union. But more on that later. First, PMQs yesterday saw the Prime Minister come under pressure from Jeremy Corbyn as he asked him on funds for cancer research and the amount of radiographers here in Britain. Here's what he had to say.
The government's independent task force into cancer reported last year, and I quote, "We currently have a serious shortage of radiologists in England. We need more of them." So could the Prime Minister explain why we're cutting by 5% the number of training places available for therapeutic radiographers?
We need more radiologists, and we're getting them because we're putting more money into the NHS.
More on that EU deal now, and David Cameron came under pressure in Parliament as he asked to address the House of Commons and explain his EU deal in full. Here's what he had to say.
I am not arguing, and I will never argue, that Britain couldn't survive outside the European Union. We are the 5th largest economy in the world, the biggest defence player in Europe, with one of the most extensive and influential diplomatic networks on the planet. The question is not could Britain succeed outside the European Union, it is how will we be most successful.
And finally, there was a rare appearance from former United States President Jimmy Carter in Westminster as he came to address the House of Lords on the disease known as the guinea worm. That's all from here in Westminster. Back to you.
Thanks for that, Calvin. Don't you think you had a lovely time, Lucy, in London?
I've heard he did, yeah. Now, as we mentioned earlier in the show, a popular social network is celebrating a birthday today and you're invited. Our tech reporter Eleanor Weaver has all the details.
Thanks guys, and yes, Facebook is today celebrating its 12th birthday, and as part of the celebrations, users will be sent a Friends Day video which reflects on their friendships over the years. Similar to videos produced in the celebration of the new year, they will be made up of a collage of photographs which you can edit to avoid sharing any awkward memories. Zuckerberg has said that he wants the day to focus on what is important, and so rather than make the day all about Facebook, he wants to make it about friendships. Facebook's active users has doubled since 2011 and now stands at over 1.59 billion. Zuckerberg has also been announced as the 4th wealthiest person in the world, with a net worth of over $35 billion, coming in behind Donald Trump, Warren Buffett and Bill Gates. Now, sticking with social media, Twitter has scrapped what it has called an engaging homepage and is rolling out a new design to attract people who have not logged into the site for some time. The new layout shows updates from news websites and celebrities and allows people to search through tweets without being logged in. MIT engineers have today revealed innovative designs for passenger pods that can travel through airless tubes. The pods are designed to be fired through the tubes at more than 600 miles per hour. The team who designed the pods will now have the opportunity to bring their design to life in the US after winning a SpaceX competition. The pods are known as Hyperloops and look almost like a bullet cut in half but on wheels. The design does not currently have space for passengers. And more locally, students and their lecturer from the University of Lincoln are calling for lovers of Lincolnshire's heritage to help them build a database for their new app. They are looking for people to come forward with interesting heritage objects. The My Lincolnshire Collection app, once finished, will allow history buffs to choose their 10 favourite objects, and it will then produce a personalised map of the county to show where they can go to see them. The creators say they have so far gotten 50 objects, but aim to have at least 100 before the app is launched.
Thanks, Ellie.
Let's have a look at what's happening in the world of entertainment with our showbiz reporter, Owen Bellwood.
Thanks, Lucy. Friends actor Matt LeBlanc will join Chris Evans as a presenter on the new series of Top Gear. Evans confirmed the news as he tweeted a picture of himself, LeBlanc and the Stig. The revamped version of the show is due to air in May. The man behind the voice for famous cartoon characters such as Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck has sadly died aged 63. The death of Joe Alsaki from cancer was announced by his family on Wednesday. The Emmy award-winning comic actor also voiced multiple other Looney Tunes characters. A David Bowie tribute mural created by a Sheffield graffiti artist has been ridiculed by some people on social media. The 7-foot painting by Trick, featuring Bowie in the persona of his character Aladdin Sane, has appeared on a street corner in the city centre. What do you think of the painting? You can tell us your views by tweeting us at LSJ Tweets. That's all for today's entertainment. Back to you, Lucy and Adam.
Thanks, Owen. Now over to Kat Tolbert for the sport and all the latest action from around the region.
So Lincoln City broke their 11-game winless streak this Saturday, beating Guiseley 1-0. The Imps needed the win to give themselves any chance of reaching the playoffs. This weekend, the Imps play Eastleigh at home. Earlier in the season, the two teams shared a draw. Goalkeeping coach David Priest is hoping that this will change on Saturday.
Full of experience, got a lot of quality players. They put in a good show here in the last season when they need to get into the playoffs. So we know what to expect, but at the same time, even just looking back at the highlights of battered through the game at the start of the season down at Eastleigh. It's a game we should have won again, and hopefully we'll be in the same position to do that again and we can finish them off.
Newcomer James Caton, who played his debut match for the club last weekend, is hoping that his new team can sneak a victory. The 22-year-old was signed by the club on loan from Shrewsbury Town last week.
I've had a little look at Eastleigh the last few days. I think, they're doing quite well in the league, but they're definitely a team that can be got at. And if we play like we did on Saturday, we created plenty of chances, so it's definitely a game that we'll be going in to win.
The Lincoln Festival of Cycling has been forced to cancel 3 of its events after a legal dispute with another company. Organisers planned to stage 5 events over a weekend in May, but their schedule has had to change, leaving participants in the dark. Liam Ray explains.
2016 was poised to be a landmark year for cycling in Lincoln, after the announcement of a 3-day event to be held in May. However, after months of legal battles, the newly formed Lincoln Festival of Cycling has been forced to cancel 3 of its planned events, after a dispute with the rival company who had staged a similar event over the last 5 years. This means the Lincoln Criterium, Sportive and uphill dash have all been scrapped, leaving a huge amount of confusion surrounding the whole event.
Well, we were hoping to follow the format from 2015's event, where we had in 2015 we had a 4-day weekend, but we were trying to grow what's previously been a single race into a 3-day weekend, because the city and everybody came out and enjoyed the city centre racing, the uphill dash, and all the extra events that were supporting the Grand Prix races. So we just really wanted to restructure the format of the weekend and rebuild it to make it possible to have all of those events. Sadly we ended up in a position where the previous the sportive organiser for the previous years effectively doesn't like the idea that the Velo Club and the event organiser can say, well, actually we don't want the sportive that you organise as part of our weekend.
So why did the festival have to cancel some of its events? Well, a separate company, ITP Events, had been running a separate Lincoln Sportive for the last 5 years. The Festival of Cycling decided to include a sportive on their 2016 schedule, and ITP wanted money from the festival organisers to use the naming rights. The Festival of Cycling gathered the money, but it wasn't enough, resulting in the planned events having to be cancelled. However, despite the loss of 3 events, Elmore and the festival organisers still plan to hold their first ever Women's Grand Prix, as well as the Men's Grand Prix, which will be running for the 60th year. Liam Ray, LSJ Today, Lincoln.
Elsewhere, the Rugby Six Nations kicks off this weekend. The tournament begins with France versus Italy on Saturday, followed by England versus Scotland, and finally Ireland take on Italy. England head coach Eddie Jones says there were some tight calls on selection, but have picked what he believes to be a squad with both experience and youth. This comes with the news that both Danny Kerr and Joe Marler have been selected for Saturday's match against England. That's all for the sport this week. Back to you, Lucy and Adam.
Now to the weather, and it still stays largely cloudy in Lincoln before we head into the evening, with rainy spells expected around 8 p.m. The showers through the night are expected to clear tomorrow morning, and the clouds are once again set in. Temperatures will hit highs of 10 degrees. However, it won't stay dry for long tomorrow. By 9 p.m. tomorrow evening, heavy spells of rain will drift in from the southwest, with strong winds reaching 21 miles per hour.
That's all we've got time for today, so we'll see you again next time. In the meantime, you can catch up with us on LSJ Tweets or check out our Facebook for more.
You can also watch Newsweek on Friday, which is also put up by LSJ News. That's all from us now. Goodbye.